Ready? My name is Karen Schoen, and I am an agender. And an agender is an American against Agenda 21. An American is the largest group of free people in the world. And we are never going to be divided if we speak the truth. We have to make a decision. And we have to decide, are we going to be one nation under God or one nation under the United Nations? Because that's what this crowd is looking for. They're looking for a one-world government. You've heard that phrase often. Their problem is America is standing in the way of their goal. America, a country of people who believe that our rights are granted by God, are fighting with a group of two enemies, not just one. We have two, to make it doubly bad. Two enemies. We have communists and we have Muslims. And they both have the same goal. They want us dead. And there's no nice way to say that. But that's what their goal is. So in this war of the minds, we have two groups working together. And what we have to do is recognize who these groups are, identify them, and make sure that we always speak the truth. The communists believe that their rights are granted by government. The Muslims, or the Islamists, they believe that their rights are granted by Allah. It does not make any difference because in America, we know that our rights are granted by God, our Creator. They believe in mutually assured destruction. What does that mean? Well, that means if everybody's working together because I need you, I won't kill you. So that's what they tell us. And that's not true. We have to remember that everything is connected. Everything. Nothing happens at random. Everything happens for a reason. And everything we are being told is a lie. And that was the hardest thing for me to understand. And that's usually the hardest thing for all of us to understand. That what we are being told is a lie. However, this particular president makes lying an art form. So it's easy to see all the lies. In their goals, everything must benefit the state or the government, or, for the Muslims, everything must benefit Islam. There is nothing there that will benefit the people. They believe that there is no truth, there is no fact, and therefore there is no reality. And the only reality that they have is that reality that is granted to them by their government or by Allah. Both of these groups are housed in the United Nations. And we, the people, are the greatest contributor to the United Nations. So their opinion of us is we are stupid. We are paying for our own demise. And we've got to stop if we want to do anything to protect ourselves and our country. Let's take a look at these two groups because really, they are following the same path. Usually in war, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that's what they have done. So let's take a look at them. We have two enemies working together. Both are the UN elite. They come in the forms of the Council of Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergs, the Trilateral Commission, the Illuminati, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, the World Bank, governments, monarchies, and dictators. And the Muslim Brotherhood. They are either what we call non-government organizations or NGOs, or in the case of the Muslims, they are intergovernmental councils. And the first time I heard this was when our president said 57 states. How many members are in the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Council? 57 states. You have to be aware of the words and the terminology that are being used because they come from the same place. Their goal is the same. They must destroy America. In the case of the Muslims, they must destroy Israel to destroy America, because in the end, only Allah can prevail. Their method is the same. They use Follis-Lengyel, divide and conquer. Put that wedge in between the people, and the Americans will eat up themselves. They'll fight so hard amongst themselves that we'll be able to walk right in. And in the goal of the Muslims, their goal is to fly the Muslim flag over the White House. They have a 10-year goal. It started in 2005. The Muslim plan is the Quran. The communist plan is Agenda 21. The results are the same. We, the people, will either be killed or we will become slaves of communists or Islam. A house divided will fail. We know that. It will fall, it will shatter, and it will fall upon itself. We know that. The tools that are used are very similar, no matter what group. Hate speech has now become the prime target of the First Amendment. And unbeknownst to us, if we were actually told by true media, Hillary Clinton signed a Declaration of Human Rights that is part of the United Nations, of which goal is to make any derogatory comment about Islam a criminal offense. Now, our Constitution grants us the right to speak the truth. Islam does not care, because their goal is to eliminate anyone that does not believe in Allah. They use regionalism to replace nationalism. That's what immigration is all about. Take down the borders. Ever wonder why we didn't have our borders taken down by George Bush, Ronald Reagan, as far back as that? They have no desire to take down the borders, because a border around America creates national sovereignty. And if you are sovereign into your country with your allegiance to God, then your government is secondary. And neither a communist nor a Muslim will allow the government to be secondary. Propaganda replaces the truth. We have to start speaking the truth. When we hear propaganda, we should be calling our families and friends and saying, "Did you hear what was just said? Did you know it's not true?" And tell them the truth, because the truth is the only thing that will keep us together. The truth is the only thread that will keep us and bind us. Lies are changed all the time to fit the group that they're in, so it does not matter. It is only the truth that is important. Consensus replaces fact. If a group of people, a group of scientists sit in a room and they have a consensus that global warming and carbon dioxide are toxic, carbon dioxide is a toxic gas, how many people believe that? And yet they believe that. My favorite experiment with that one, when I hear that, is I always ask them, "Could you do me a favor and drink that soda that's on your desk?" And then I sit and stare at them. And they, "What are you staring at, Karen?" "Well, I never saw anybody die from carbon dioxide poison. I want you to see if you're going to be the first one." What they are telling is not the truth. And yet what we are believing becomes the truth. Because the words, if you say them enough, will replace the truth. Because if there are no facts, there is no truth, and there is no reality except what your government tells you is real. They speak, their language is called doublespeak. So you can almost guarantee that everything they say is the opposite of what they mean and what they will do. It's almost guaranteed. And when I tell you I really mean it, and I'm telling you the truth, you know it's a lie. Because everything is a lie. Everything. Outcome-based replaces opportunity-based. America is a land based on equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Everyone has the ability to do whatever they want, to put themselves in a position of strength for themselves. That is not what this crowd is after. This crowd says everybody has to have the same thing, so they are breeding a nation of children who grow up to be our legislators, who are now sitting in our Congress and giving everything we own away to make it fair. Think about that. Think about the sense of that. Think about the things that have happened. Why in the past years have we spent billions of dollars on oil for countries that hate us? We're financing them to turn around and kill us. That does not make sense. And yet we are doing it because we are told America doesn't have enough resources. America will run out of gas. America's going to run out of the oil. America's going to run out of this. America has more natural resources than any other country on the planet. And that's what they're after. So by telling us we don't have, they eventually will get what is rightfully ours. And that is their goal. Their goal is our private property, our private property rights. And it doesn't mean that it is real estate. Private property is you, your person. You are private. Your business is private. You run it for yourself, for your benefit, for your family. And yet your profit is being demonized because these people have no idea what profit means. Because to them, profit is bad. Maurice Strong, he's one of my favorites. He said, we must destroy capitalism to save the planet. Anybody know who Maurice Strong is? Well, Maurice Strong was the head of the United Nations. Maurice Strong is a billionaire. How did Maurice Strong make all of his money? In the oil business. So why would he tell us we can't have? Because he has. This is a crowd that says, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. And that's what they believe. And that's the position that they have taken. And they will feed us lies so that we will do without, so that they will have. When Al Gore started with the global warming, and then I found out that the oceans were rising 4 to 20 feet. He bought a mansion on the beach. Well, I sent him an email and I said, Al, you got this big mansion. My house is tiny. I'm ready to move in. You got to share the wealth. Didn't go very far. Because they don't want to share. They only want to share what's in your pocket, not what is in their pocket. The purpose of Agenda 21 is to inventory and control every aspect of humanity. Every human activity will be controlled by the government. Smart meters. How many of you have smart meters? Don't let them put smart meters on your house. You don't have to. Make them take them off. You don't have to. Why? Smart meters are surveillance devices. By 2015, smart meters will interact with your appliances. They will know when you're home. They'll be able to say, Connie, you've used your washer too many times today. We're going to shut it off. They'll be able to say, Terry, you've kept the lights on for too long. You can't leave them on after 10 o'clock. That's what smart meters are about. Control, control, control. The purpose of Islam is Sharia, control by Sharia. Sharia is control. That's what it means. Either you believe in Allah or you are dead. Period. And I don't care whether you are a Christian or a Jew, it does not matter. Either you believe in Allah or you will be dead. That is their goal. How do they go about doing that? How do they get us to get to this spot? They're very smart. They've been at this for years. The progressives have changed their names so many times, it's hard to keep up with them. They've been at this for 100 years. Their economic program of Fabian economics is now 100 years old. It was supposed to end in 1984, and they are almost there. They don't believe in the free market because free is in that market. Free belongs to we the people. Free is what they cannot control. So they will tell us our earth has too many people. We have to depopulate the planet. I want you to think about this. If we gave every family in the United States a quarter of an acre of property, all of us would fit in the state of Ohio. How is that too many people? Why would they tell us there's too many people? Because there's less of them and there's more of us. And if there were less of us, we'd be easier to control. So they will tell us there's too many people. Why have they told us there's a water shortage? Think about this. 70% of the planet is covered with water. Could somebody please explain to me how we have a shortage? It's impossible. There is no shortage. And yet, we are being told that there is a water shortage. Again, control, control, control. We're being told that global warming is going to destroy the planet. Millions of years. The weather has changed. We're still here, and that's going to continue. No matter what happens, the climate will change. Man's effect on changing the climate would be if you took a string around the equator, dropped a pin on that string. That's the amount of effect that man has on the climate. We're being told that carbon dioxide is toxic and we have to control it. Why? Well, what needs carbon dioxide to exist, to become fruitful? Plants, food. If they stop the growth of carbon dioxide, what will happen? We'll have a food shortage. If we have a food shortage, what will happen? People will die. The planet will get depopulated. It's impossible. Not only that, while we're busy controlling our carbon dioxide, what produces the most carbon dioxide on the planet? The ocean. Can we stop the ocean from producing carbon dioxide? No. And yet the legislators are going to impose a carbon tax, a tax on a gas that is less than 0.003% of the atmosphere. They're going to control it. What is that going to mean? That's going to mean the prices of everything is going to go up. Control, control, control. Once you know the facts and you become armed with the facts, it makes it easier to talk to people with even simple things. They have told us that man is the enemy of the earth. Well, this one's my favorite part. Man is the enemy of the earth. Animals, rocks, birds, animals are equal to man. We're all equal. How nice. So I went home and I said, okay, cat, make me dinner. It doesn't happen because we're not equal. But yet our children believe that. These are some of the words that are being used interchangeably, which are really tied to Agenda 21. But the first quote is really the most important, because I like to use their own words. Because again, they tell you how they feel. They tell you exactly what they mean. They figure we're so stupid we won't look, we won't pay attention. And that's what has happened. Participating in a UN advocated planning process would very likely bring out many who would actively work to defeat any elected official undertaking local Agenda 21 sustainable development. They know that. So we'll call it something else. And that's what they've done. And those are some of the words that they have used to call it something else. And so we feel good when we're saving the planet. But that's not the purpose of saving the planet. The purpose of saving the planet is to destroy capitalism. We've got to learn their words. We've got to learn what they mean. We've got to get ahead of them. And I have some great news. Aside from the fact that Glenn Beck, thank you so much, Glenn Beck, for bringing Agenda 21 and saying its words, Agenda 21, out of the closet, I found a website today where the UN has written letters and asking their lovers of the UN to please copy those letters and send them to their local papers to tell the truth about Agenda 21. Whose truth? Their truth, because Agenda 21 is based on a pack of lies. Here's some of the agencies that they put together. When your local official comes to your community and someone comes in and you're going to build something, do a little trace and see where that person, where that group is coming from. And I will guarantee almost 95% that if you go back far enough, it's a UN NGO, non-government organization. We've done that. We have NACO, the FAC, the Florida Association of Counties, which is part of NACO, NACO, the National Association of Counties, which was charged with implementing Agenda 21 right on their website. And yet they sent a letter to the officials in Taylor County that said, no, we're not part of Agenda 21. No, we're not part of the United Nations. They lie continually. We have to call them on it. These are just some of the organizations. There's over 2,000 organizations that we have. We have to control the vocabulary. We have to get our vocabulary back. They have learned that in order to control people, you must control the vocabulary. Remember when Nancy Pelosi was asked what was her favorite word, and she said the word was word? I couldn't figure out why. Why would she say something like that? Until I realized that they control the vocabulary. What they have done is they have used the same vocabulary and they changed the definitions for different groups. Of course her favorite word is word, because it's interchangeable with anything. And the definition can be changed to mean anything I want it to be, because the consensus says that I can do that. We have to learn. And we have to learn their vernacular so that we can be ahead of them. Because there is a fact, there can be no truth. People then will be reduced to nothing, because people will have nothing to hang on to. They will have no fact. they will have no understanding, and they will turn to their government to the truth. And that they will be turned to, of which is told by the state or by the Quran, depending upon which group you are a part of. They must create a crisis, and then they can control the crisis. So think about what's going on in the Middle East. Think about the Arab Spring. Think about the Wall Street occupiers. What did they do? They must create the crisis. Then they will have a mob, and the people will scream for the government to take them out of this crisis. And yes, by the way, we'll give up a few freedoms and liberties along the way. And once we give them up, we never get them back. Because there is no truth, there will be no order. If there is no order, there is only chaos. Communists and Muslims run their government on controlling chaos. Over 50%, I believe, of the Muslim population does not work. What do they do? Think about that. Where is this country going if people do not work and are not productive? And if our children and our families do not understand what it means to be a free person, to own a business, and to have pride in yourself and in your country? Because that's what they're after. If there is no truth and there is no reality, how can you have pride in yourself? You can't, because you are busy following the crowd. You're going to do whatever the crowd is going to do because you don't know what to do and you don't know what's real. And every day, everything will change and every reality will change. And that's why today math in school, 2 + 2 could be 5. Because I feel like it. Because there is no fact, there is no truth, and there is no reality. Political correctness is what we have been fed. It is the death knell of freedom. Without the truth, you cannot be free. It is the only thing that creates a free people. Again, we must be purveyors of the truth. We must call them out when there is political correctness. And there was plenty of ways to do that. And we can't be afraid that somebody's going to call us a racist or a sexist or a homophobe or an Islamophobe or any other phobe that they want to. It does not matter. Because usually after they're finished, I say, okay, so now you've used up all the adjectives that you know. Tell me what I said that was not true. There's no answer, because there isn't. We, the people, get our rights from God. If you are a communist, Mikhail Gorbachev, he wrote the Earth Charter, which Hillary Clinton thinks should replace the 10 Commandments. The Earth Charter says that the state is the purveyor of your rights, not God. Usually, communists are atheists. They don't care about people. They have no morality. And it is our job to make sure that there is no war on Christmas in our community, because America is a country that was born on morality. And if we take that away, we have nothing. So we cannot allow them to do that. Under God was written all over our documents, in our pledge, on our money, on our buildings. And that's what it means, under God. And just because one person says, I don't like that, my answer is, then don't look at it. This country is based on God, not on government control. That's what getting back the country means. Getting back the country means being able to stick your neck out and saying no. I will not comply when it is not the truth. The Quran, that's even that one you've got to take a look at. because the bottom line of that is you have a license to lie if it benefits you so that you can infiltrate the infidel who is everybody that does not believe in Allah as their God. Now, I put that in red, the last one, because that one really socked me in the face when I saw that. There is a tax that the Muslims impose on everyone who does not believe in Allah. It says, if not people of the book, meaning you are a non-believer, if you will not commit or die, you must pay a tax called a jaziza, which is willing submission, so that you will be known to be subdued. In other words, you are saying, I will pay this tax and I know I am an infidel. Now, why did I pick on that one? Our health care bill, the Muslims are exempt from the tax. So what does that mean? We are paying the jaziza. If the Muslims are not paying, and we are, then they have imposed a tax on our health care. And that's the first step. That's the camel's nose under the tent. A couple of quotes from some of our dear heroes. George Herbert Walker Bush. Today we stand at a unique and extraordinary moment. The crisis in the Persian Gulf, as grave as it is, also offers a rare opportunity to move towards a historic period of cooperation. Out of these troubled times, our fifth objective, a new world order. I didn't want a new world order. I like America. He was my president, not my God. He didn't have a right to sell our country, which he did. And systematically over time, we have allowed these people to come into places of importance, and we have listened to them. You want to know why they're nuts down in Florida, South Florida? Well, they've got Harvey Rubin down there. He's terrific. He's the Miami-Dade clerk of courts. He was appointed by Marco Rubio. Remember that, when good old Marco thinks he's going to be president. Who, by the way, is not a natural-born citizen. Individual rights will have to take a back seat for the good of the collective, he said, in China, and then came back and took away property, private property, from the people who lived in Miami-Dade. A few weeks ago, I read a very tragic story that was going on in Miami-Dade. And it was a garage that was being built. 5-story garage fell down. 1 man was killed. 10 people were injured. It was in the Miami Herald. And I began to read the comments. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. Because most of the comments said, well, if those stupid people didn't have to drive cars, we wouldn't have to build garages. That's what they believe. Where do the immigrants come from? Socialist countries. When they come here, they think the American brand of socialism is the best thing since sliced bread. Of course they want to come here. On the Department of Homeland Security, there are new programs for immigrants. Almost $880 billion is spent in Florida by we the people. And yet our legislators in Florida cannot figure out that paying for illegal immigrants is not a good idea, as they come around and say, we have to raise this tax. We have to raise this millage. We have to raise that. We have to say, no, I will not comply. We have to tell them, no, I will not comply. Last year, we went to the state capitol to get the E-Verify bill, and a bill passed that was similar to Alabama. Walking all over the Capitol were illegal immigrants with shirts on saying, "I am Florida." No, you are not Florida. You are an illegal immigrant, not a politically correct, undocumented worker. You are here illegally. What part of illegal did you not get? Well, obviously, our legislators missed that class. And if we want to know why our good people did not get elected, it's because those people voted. I don't have anything against them. Nor do the legal immigrants have anything against them. But if the legal immigrants were told the truth, which they were not, and if the messaging was correct during this election, which it was not, this election would have not gone the way it was. But then again, look at history, which is missing from our history books. There has never been a Marxist who was ever taken out of an election. And our president will begin to say continually over and over again, the great democracy of America. America is not a democracy. America is a representative republic, a constitutional republic. A democracy could be ruled by a mob just because there are more of them. We elect representatives. That word representative is important because they represent us. And if we don't tell them what they represent and what we want them to say, guess what? They don't follow. That's our fault. I told you about Maurice, really good guy. Usually when I'm talking to one of our legislators and they tell me how wonderful sustainable developments are, I usually follow up by saying, oh, by the way, we're going to turn the air conditioning off in your office. Why? What are you talking about? Well, that's not sustainable. They have no idea what they're voting for. They have no idea what they're looking at because they have to pass it before they read it. We have that going on in our counties, in our cities, and in our state. And we have to read it to make sure they know what they're passing. And we have to correct the verbiage, and we have to hold them accountable. And maybe we should take their keys away and put them on those wonderful bike paths. We're going to save money. We won't pay for your car. We'll give you a bicycle. How nice will that be in 95-degree weather or a hurricane, in the wind, in the rain? No. Just say no. Say no to grants because grants come with strings. And the strings tell you how to live. And that's what grants are about. They're not free money, as our children think. Oh, it's free money. I even got that from one of our legislators. What are you worried about, Karen? It's coming from the federal government. It's free money. Excuse me? Where did the government get their money from? We the people. It's not free. These are some of the principles of Agenda 21. You've heard them before. The first one, or the actual meaning of it, I can't even figure out what it means. It doesn't make sense. Think about it. Sustainable development means development of a society that meets the need of the present society without compromising the needs of future society to meet its own needs. What on earth does that mean, and why are we following it? And I would like one legislator to tell me what sustainable means, because they have no idea, but it sounds good. Again, emotion. They are pushing emotion on us without factual information. Why? Because they use consensus and the precautionary principle. Well, this may happen in 400 years, so we better take care of it now and not do it. Let's build a wall around South Florida because the ocean may rise 4 to 20 feet. How is that possible? It is impossible. That's easy to take care of. Take a glass of water with ice, fill it up halfway, let the ice melt, and guess what? You still got the same level of water. It is impossible. And yet they want to tax the people in South Florida to build a wall so that they can protect themselves from the ocean that's going to rise 4 to 20 feet. Does not happen. Not a good idea. We have to hold them accountable with science and with facts and with the truth. And if we let them slide, they will bury us. I promise you, because that is their goal. None of their programs make sense. Their programs are designed to make us spend money. Redistribution of wealth. Rich country, America, has to pay for its sins to the poor country whose dictator is busy stealing all the money so that they can show you pictures of the poor, hungry people. That's what this is all about. 3 things about Islam. That's a great YouTube. You've got to read that. You've got to pay attention to that, because the Muslim Brotherhood, I went to a briefing about national security. We have the Muslim Brotherhood in our state, in our federal government, in the cabinets, in the departments, and in our military. And guess who helped write the rules of engagement that is allowing our soldiers to die? The Muslim Brotherhood. They have taken all of the words that say who the enemy is out of the books. If you don't know your enemy, how can you fight them? You can't. It's impossible. So our men are going out to fight with rubber bullets, with antiquated equipment, unable to fight someone, at an enemy who thinks of nothing of standing in the middle of a group of kids wearing a vest full of dynamite. And we have to not fire on them because the Muslim Brotherhood says that we cannot talk ill of the Muslim people, of the terrorists, of the jihadists. They're right. We are stupid if we allow that to happen and to continue. Only re-education, and that's what they've done, re-educating our families, re-educating our children, re-educating our youth, taking history out of our books, changing our words, changing our history. In high school, this is one that we can all work on this one, and I would like anybody who wants to work on education to please contact me. Since when does American history start in 1865? Well, it does in our high schools. Because, we've covered that, Karen. We have Constitution Day. That's when they learn about the Constitution. No wonder why our kids think that socialism is great. They have no idea what freedom is. They're being taught in a one-size-shoe-fits-all education, and they are being trained to work. Period. Why? Because the goal of the communists is that a human being is only as good as the amount of work that they can do for their state. Shirley McLuhan worked under George Bush 41 and went to the governor's conference with Bill Clinton, who was the president of the governor's conference at that time, and changed education. She called students human capital and said that the purpose of education is to train them to work. And so we got school to work, no child left behind, and today we have Common Core standards, which means your child, your grandchild will be trained to work in whatever industrial capacity the government chooses for them. Your child has no destiny. They have no choice. We are stealing their future. She also said that the purpose of education was to transform society from individualism into collectivism. Where did I hear that word before? That one is straight out of the Communist Manifesto. And we're surprised that a socialist, communist, Marxist is in the White House and that people voted for him. If we don't change our schools, we could change every person in office, and I will guarantee you that in 12 years we will be sitting and having the same conversation. Only we won't be there to protect them. And that's what they're counting on. Fact-based education is no longer the primary focus of education. If there is no fact, there is no truth. There is no reality except the reality that is handed to you by your government. That's what's being taught in school. Are we surprised that 87% of the children graduating from high school think it is the government's job to take care of them? Not their family? No God? Nothing. Because we have allowed that to happen in school. We must revisit our school. We must demand, here's a great project, demand America be brought back to the schools. We don't care about global benchmarks. They come out of the United Nations. We should not care about global citizenship. We should be American citizens. We have to bring that back. And we are the only ones that can do that. Well, how is it going to work? They've already got it in place. Technology will make it happen. We are going to be chipped and monitored and cameras and you name it, and we will be controlled. How many think cash for clunkers was a great idea? Think about this one. What was eliminated? All those old cars that did not run on computers. So you could not be controlled. That was the purpose of cash for clunkers. Those are the goals of Marxism. Just look and see how many have been accomplished already. 11 goals of Marxism. And the final one was Obama's final biggest control, health care, controlling the health of people. If I control your health, will you pay attention to me? You bet I will. If I'm hungry, if you're hungry, and I've got food, will you pay attention to me? You bet I will. Money is going to be replaced. You'll get a card. And if the government doesn't like what you're saying, sorry, your card won't work. Think about those chips being put in animals. That was the first step. Texas is trying to put chips on kids under the name of protecting. It is the parents' right to protect, not a chip that goes to the school that gets read by someone. Well, what are they doing and how does it affect us? They're eliminating our borders. They use the word global, and they use international interchangeably. We have international treaties and global treaties. Global means one world government. International means a treaty from nation to nation. So they are fighting globally for a one world government with a new world order. They want redistribution of our wealth. Absolutely. Rich people cannot exist. The middle class is the target. There is no middle class in any communist country. You have rich and you have poor because everybody has to be equal. So we are equally poor. And eventually the rich people become poor and only the elite people control everything. And they become the dictators. We have to stop funding the United Nations. We have one vote, and we pay 22% plus extras. to the United Nations a group of people who hate us and want to enslave us so that we will end poverty and end hunger. If I see that same commercial, I think this is about the 20th year that I have seen the same commercial of those starving children somewhere overseas. How much money have we given to the United Nations in that 20-year time frame? Every child could have been fed. That's not their purpose. Their purpose is our money, and they are doing a bang-up job of getting it. Well, what can we do? Now I've given you a horror story and everybody's going to go home, and usually at the end of this they say, okay, Karen, I can't sleep. What am I going to do? You gave me a nightmare. I'm sorry, folks, but sometimes you got to wake up. And I am no longer politically correct. And people that listen to me know that. And that's what you have to be. Because I know from my family, I remember the dining room table. I remember family members with tattoos on their arms. I remember those stories. I remember my uncle who cleaned up concentration camps. I remember. Our children won't remember, because we don't talk to them about politics and religion, and we have become politically correct. We have to stop. We have to tell the truth. When somebody is lying, we have to call them on it, even if it's with your friend, even if it's with your neighbor. And by the way, you can talk about it in church, because the IRS said they can't control the vocabulary, the words that are spoken in church. Talk about it. And if your minister or rabbi or pastor or priest won't change churches, we have to stop feeding the beast and doing what they tell us to do. We have to learn the truth. We have to have conversations. We have to educate, and we have to act. Because if you know the truth and you don't tell anybody, what good is it? Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. We have a choice. If we don't learn and share, and if we have not learned from this election and the pain that we are going to be in over the next 4 years, we are not going to have a country called America, land of the free, home of the brave, for our children. I will promise you, they will be fighting communism, and they will be fighting Muslims until they die. And that is not a good legacy to leave anyone. We have to demand America be taught in our schools. And we have to stop when they say no. Who gave them the right to control education? I tell everyone, take the kids out. Take them out of school. They don't belong there. A free education is a government indoctrination. And besides, why would you want your child to be trained to work for someone else when they should be educated so that they can choose their future? You have to eliminate the tools that they tell you and think past those warm, fuzzy words and see what they really mean. Say no to grants. Work with your elected officials. Don't make them your enemy. Make them your friend. Do what they do. Become friends of the infidel. And tell them the truth. Don't tell them a lie. But if you befriend them, and you befriend the people in their office, you will get through, because they don't want their children to be slaves either. And for the most part, they have no idea what they're buying into. They're being directed, and the right and the left are being directed by the same people. The same ones are sitting at the top pulling the strings. We've got to get past that. Homeschool. Keep God in your family together. If you can homeschool, homeschool. If there's people on your block that can homeschool and you're a former teacher, work with those kids. When they come home from school, look at their books. The new book called World History 2013, now going to be used in the state of Florida, has 34 pages of Islam, 2 paragraphs of Judaism, and 2 paragraphs of Christianity. What do you think those kids are going to learn when they get out of school? They're going to say, Allah is my God. I have no God other than Allah, and I will bow to none other than Allah. Because if they don't, they'll be killed or pay a tax if we don't stop. We have to stop and pressure for the rules of engagement and bring our soldiers home where they belong, because they are fighting a war that they cannot win. And we have to make sure that they're safe. Let's put them on our own borders. Why do we have to protect somebody else's border when they can be on our own? But most important, we have to stay together, because that's all we have. We have no government. We have no leaders. We are the leaders. America was set up so that every individual is a leader unto themselves. And we have to remember that. And even if it's uncomfortable, we have to lead, because freedom is not free, and victory is our only option. Thank you.